Alright guys, what's up and welcome back for another Diablo 3 how-to guide. This one is going to be for beginners, right? Beginner tips. You know, if you are coming back to Diablo after a while and the game has changed on you, or if this is the first time you've ever played the game ever, we're going to go through the different phases of leveling and gearing, you know, basically taking you from level 1 all the way through trying to rift farm and get gear. Just kind of give you some tips, pointers, and kind of like what to expect in each section. So let's get started. Alright, so it's my recommendation, if this is the first time you've ever played Diablo, it's very tempting to jump into the current season, but I would advise you to play through the campaign. The campaign is going to introduce the mechanics of the game at a very tapered level. You're going to get a good learning curve there, and it'll just kind of, you know, you can experience the story and you just kind of have an idea of like where things are in the world and how to get to certain places. If you're not interested in any of that, then when you start level 1, season or not, you're going to want to be in adventure mode, and this will allow you to do bounties, greater rifts, normal rifts, and all that good stuff. With that being said, the first thing you need to do is you need to go over here, wherever you are in town, find your followers, and hire one. Whichever one is kind of like appropriate for your class. Like if I'm playing, usually I'm, you know, have an enchantress, but she uses intelligence. But if you're playing a dex class, grab the scoundrel. That way you can find gear for him as you're leveling up. Alright, so the first thing you want to do after getting into adventure mode is you're going to want to go over to your followers, and depending on what your class is, select one of them, go to their inventory and skills, and steal their weapon, because this is going to give you a significant damage increase for the first few levels of the game. Alright guys, next up, whenever you hit level 6, you're going to be wanting to go around to all of the towns and the different acts, and you're going to be looking for a merchant that it has a trinkets tab. You're going to be looking for a ring that has damage on it, like this one. You're going to buy 2 of them, and that's going to also help increase your damage. Also, when you hit level 10, you want to do the same thing with amulets. Go around to all the towns, look for the merchant with the trinkets tab, and look for an amulet with the damage on it. Now, this can be kind of random whenever the game is created, so you might have to look a little bit. Alright, next big tip. While you're leveling, make sure you're saving all of your gems that you're finding, especially rubies. And at level 9 and also level 15, you can start crafting or finding helms. And you're going to want to try to find a helm that has a socket in it. And you're going to want to go to the jeweler and make the highest ruby that you can. And that's going to give you some bonus experience. You can also, if you find a weapon with a socket, you know, make a emerald at a very high level to get crit damage. Or you can put a ruby in your weapon as well to get damage. It's actually probably better when you're leveling to put a ruby in for the damage, since you probably don't have a lot of gear that's going to be stacking crit chance to really utilize the crit damage. Also, related to the blacksmith, everything you find while you're leveling, season or not, you should salvage it. Everything. If it's not an immediate upgrade, pick it up, salvage it. We're talking whites, blues, and yellows, and even some legendaries that aren't necessarily that great, because those mats are going to come in handy down the road. You're going to want to prioritize any sort of gear that you can make that's going to boost your damage. Damage is king when you're leveling up. With the exception of being a hardcore player, you're going to be leaning more towards toughness, because you get one shot, right? Another big thing is don't waste gold. Don't buy stash tabs until you need it. And also, don't spend gold on unsocketing items from gear. If you find an upgrade and you want to get the gem out of it, just salvage that piece of gear and you'll get the gem back for free. So obviously, the stats you're going to be wanting to work on at first are going to be your primary stat. So dexterity for demon hunters, intellect if you're a witch doctor or wizard, or strength if you're a barb or crusader. Also vitality, which will give you hit points and all that stuff. As you get higher in level, you're going to be getting gear that's going to allow you to stack things like resistance to all elements, which you'll want to find, and also crit chance, crit damage, and cooldown reduction, and all that good stuff. Next, you're going to be wanting to play at a difficulty that kind of matches your gear and is the most efficient. I actually have a video that helps, you know, go over difficulty, and I'll link that here in a card. But generally speaking, you just kind of want to make sure you're efficiently killing things at a very fluid pace, just kind of keep the progress going. Another thing you can do is, this is kind of like a little side trick, but you can go to bounties and you can look for any sort of cursed chest. They're usually in Act 1. Let's see if we can find one here. A cursed cellar here. Any of these kind of things that's going to, you know, produce, you know, items. Because what they're going to do is, after those bounties, you finish the bounty, it's going to give you a chest, and you get to open the chest and find gear. So you can kind of farm those as well to get some upgrades. Once you get a little bit more geared, you can actually start running normal rifts as well, but you know, don't go too high in difficulty on that. Usually whatever difficulty in the game you've been farming on bounties and whatnot, usually stick to that as far as normals. But that can be a good source of XP, items, and just kind of get you a head start on blood shards and, you know, all that good stuff. And like I said in the beginning, if you're playing adventure mode as solo by yourself, then you want to hire your follower as immediately as possible. If you're in a multiplayer game, your follower is going to get dismissed and it won't be useful to you. Alright, so that sums up phase 1 for the 1 to 70. Next, we're going to be moving into the pre-torment section. Usually, by the time you hit 70, you can handle Torment 1, Torment 2, Torment 3. What you're going to be doing in this phase is you're going to be looking for a build for your class and start farming the pieces of gear for that. And you're going to be able to go through bounties in multiplayer games or just bounties solo, but I do recommend only doing bounties in multiplayer games. It's faster and more efficient. You'll be doing normal rifts to find blood shards and keystones to be able to run greater rifts. When you run greater rifts, you're going to be able to get your legendary gems and even more blood shards and start stacking paragon levels as well. And you're just going to be basically farming, and this is going to be probably the longest phase. It's going to feel like the longest phase because you're going to have to find all these pieces of gear to make this build work. Once you find all your 6 pieces of your set, then your damage is going to go through the roof. And that will actually move us into the next phase. Phase 3 can be categorized as like pre-end game, and this is when you've got a decent build going, you've been farming for quite a while, and you almost have your final build complete. And you're going to start here really thinking about, you know, trying to get the right stats on this gear and start using the Mystic to roll items as well. So you're going to be spending a lot of time doing bounties for mats, running GRs and normal rifts for resources as well, and leveling your gems and all that stuff. So this phase is, you know, more fine-tuning of the build you're focusing on. And that will immediately move us into phase 4, which is the last phase, which would be considered the end game. The end game is very, very micromanagement when it comes to gearing, because at the end game you have all the pieces of gear you need, and you're rolling stuff in the Mystic and getting maybe 1 or 2% on you know, crit chance. You're also, you know, running high-end GRs to get like a couple of levels on your legendary gems. You're min-maxing almost everything for your build to just push even higher and higher. And this is also where you're focusing on paragon levels as well. And your main sources of gameplay here can be split bounties in public games. Also do 4-man pre-made groups for GRs for better paragon leveling and progression. That's kind of the focus. That's kind of where you're at. You're gonna be looking for upgrades. You're gonna be looking for ancients, primal versions of the, you know, items used in your build, and also just fine-tuning all the stats to be as perfect as possible. All right, that's it for my guide for 1 to, you know, 70, and also the end game and gearing. I hope it was helpful and informative. If you want to see more Diablo content, hit the subscribe button. If you liked this video and helped you out, let me know in the comments, and also hit that like button. And until next time, take it easy and good luck.